Ferrari's 2025 season has been an unmitigated disaster, and there's no other way to view it. They came into this year off the back of a really competitive end to 2024. They hired the most successful driver in the sport's history, and the expectation was, understandably, they would continue their form from last year. Here we are, 10 months later, and Hamilton hasn't stood on the podium. Neither driver has won a race, and Ferrari will finish fourth in the Constructors' Championship. There haven't been any positives to take from their season, and the team have received plenty of criticism for it. Ferrari should be looking at themselves for the reasons behind their failure, but Hamilton disagrees. Today, I'll check out what Hamilton has to say about his team's failures, the decision that destroyed Ferrari's season, and what the future for the team could be, so don't go anywhere. It has been a tough season for Lewis Hamilton. He wanted out of Mercedes after 3 years of struggling. He wanted to be fighting at the front of the grid again. He wanted a chance at an 8th World Drivers' Championship. He wanted to fulfill a dream of driving for Ferrari. Well, that dream has turned into a nightmare. It seems inevitable that he will lose 6th in the Drivers' Championship at the final race of the season to his replacement at Mercedes, Andrea Kimi Antonelli. He has failed to find a podium finish all season, the first time that has ever happened in his career, and the man he replaced, Carlos Sainz, now has 2 podiums while driving for Williams. When Hamilton eventually retires, he will rightly be remembered as one of the best to ever race in Formula One. But since the ground effect era began in 2022, he hasn't looked the same driver. George Russell gave him a good fight at Mercedes, and Leclerc has very clearly been the better driver at Ferrari. It hasn't just been Hamilton either. Ferrari have plenty of problems aside from their star driver. The strong form from the end of 2024 is nowhere to be found, and the reasons for that are obvious. The boss of the Scuderia, Frédéric Vasseur, proudly stated before the season began that Ferrari were changing more than 90% of their car in an attempt to challenge McLaren this season. While McLaren just worked with what they had and made incredible gains, Ferrari's changed car has been a nightmare. It wants to be closer to the ground than it can legally be run, and Ferrari have suffered from the downforce lost by propping up on the suspension. Whenever Ferrari struggles, the fallout is particularly bad. They are the pride of Italy. They play into the role as Formula One's biggest team, so when they don't perform, it's always a big story. Lewis Hamilton has said that media criticism has taken a toll on the members of Ferrari's Formula One team though. The Scuderia is highly scrutinized by the Italian media, to the extent that team boss Frédéric Vasseur's sacking was rumored in renowned Italian publications La Gazzetta dello Sport and Corriere della Sera back in June. However, the situation has seemingly not been just about Vasseur, instead impacting the team as a whole. The negativity that's constantly within the media and everything like that affects them, Hamilton pointed out. They get home to their wives, and their wives say, "They've been saying this about where you work, and I'm sure that's tough, and the kids and all those things. So there's a huge effect on lots of people." Yes, there has been pretty constant negativity surrounding Ferrari this season, but there hasn't been anything to be positive about. It isn't just Hamilton and the car either. Their strategy has been poor, the execution has been poor, and there has been nothing to be positive about. People aren't just going to not talk about Ferrari until something good happens. The Italian media would be out of jobs waiting for a positive story to share. Hamilton hasn't helped the situation either. He's offered the media plenty of headlines post-race with his incredibly negative comments about the team's car and his race execution. He knows how big he is to Formula One. He knows that what he says will be on the back pages around the world on Monday morning. When the 7-time world champion's comments were mentioned to Vasseur, the Frenchman insisted that the squad needed to stay focused on the task at hand. For sure, it's not helping, but it's our job that you know that you do good results, he said. Quite often, you are world champion, you're in a tough session, you are nowhere, but as a team, we have to stay in our bubble and try to get the best from what we have. There is no coming back this season for Ferrari. That boat sailed months ago. They stopped development of the current car in April in favor of the 2026 project. Talking about that, Hamilton said, "The development has not been an issue," and he insisted, "I wanted them to move to next year's car. I wanted to make sure we started early." If he pushed the team to switch development, then he shouldn't be surprised that they have an uncompetitive car and that the team is being criticized. Was that early decision to abandon 2025's car the correct one though? Well, before I talk about that, if you're enjoying the video and want to catch all the news and analysis ahead of the 2026 season, then make sure to press the like button and subscribe to F1 Reverse. Thanks a lot. So Ferrari abandoning the 2025 car to prepare for the new regulations has been used as an excuse for their poor performances this season. Understandably so. If you don't improve your car, especially when it's a brand new concept for the season, you tend to do worse than your competitors. Jean Alesi has labelled Ferrari's decision to halt car development early as a weak excuse for their poor 2025 F1 campaign. Alesi, who drove for Ferrari from 1991 to 1995, described the team's attitude as embarrassing when trying to justify their poor season. "I'm seriously worried about the future," Alesi reportedly told Corriere della Sera. Saying development was stopped in favour of next season seems a very weak excuse. All teams worked on 2 cars this year. Ferrari's attitude is an embarrassing attempt to protect this failure. That is a scathing review of the team, but one that's hard to argue with. At this moment, it does look like a weak excuse, especially when you remember that Red Bull have continued upgrading their car to get Verstappen into a position to challenge the McLaren drivers for the World Drivers' Championship. The downside of the decision to focus on the 2026 car is pretty obvious. It was always going to look like a bad decision this season because this is the pain before the gain. They're paying with performance this year to gain next year. If they are uncompetitive next season, then we can start to look critically at the decision. But at the moment, we're only seeing one side of the coin. Vasseur recently defended the Scuderia's decision to focus its resources on Formula One's new regulations, despite its slump in performance. Vasseur said on Friday that Ferrari switched all of its resources to 2026 as early as the end of April. Asked if Ferrari could have extracted more from the SF25 with further development, Vasseur admitted, "Something was missing. Probably yes, because at the end of the day, when we decided to move on 26, it means that we were not confident to be able to catch McLaren before the end. It was the rationale behind the decision, and I think honestly today it was a good decision. But I underestimated, probably personally, is the fact that when you know that you won't develop the car, it's more difficult to keep everybody motivated is not the right word when you're doing this job, but with expectation, I would say, and this is important." This also applies to Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, who appeared even more downbeat than usual in the Losail media pen as they struggled to wring performance out of an extremely unpredictable SF25. Vasseur was asked if his drivers were discouraged by Ferrari's decision not to develop the 2025 car any longer. "I would say that when you're taking the decision around the table, we have this plan and we can do this. The gradient of development is this one for the new car, this one for the old car. If you continue to develop the old car, you will catch up McLaren in 10 races or whatever. It's a rational decision," Vasseur responded. He went on to say that he understands his drivers' negativity when they head to the media pen after the race. They're always going to be emotional. The drivers are competitors, they want to win, and when they can't because they lack the machinery, they're going to be upset. It's a tough situation for Ferrari to be in, but they made the decision to put themselves through this pain. Let's just hope it pays off next year. Do you think they made the right choice? And is Hamilton right to complain about the media's negativity? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.